In the stillness of the night, steel rails can carry more than just trains. They carry echoes. Echoes of tragedy, mystery, and the chilling grip of fate. Railroads were supposed to be symbols of progress, but beneath their promise of speed and connection lies a darker reality, one shaped by miscommunication, sabotage, and eerie coincidences that feel almost scripted by something otherworldly. What happens when a lawmaker's drunken prank sets off a chain reaction of death? How does a man end up imprisoned for a crime no one can prove? And what if two nearly identical train derailments, decades apart, were both orchestrated and no one ever found out who did it? These aren't urban legends. They're not ghost stories passed down in hushed tones. They're real, documented, investigated, and never fully explained. In this video, we'll uncover 3 of the most unsettling railway disasters in history, filled with unanswered questions, dark ironies, and haunting truths. Welcome aboard Track 13. It was the cold, still night of January 13th, 1882. The Atlantic Express thundered down the tracks of the New York Central and Hudson River Railroad, cutting through the winter dark near Spuiten-Duivel, a name that, in Dutch, ominously translates to spitting devil. On board was Webster Wagner, a state senator, railroad tycoon, and the very inventor of the luxurious sleeping cars that now cradled the train's wealthier passengers. What he didn't know was that the innovation that had brought him fame would become the reason for his demise. Somewhere in one of the cars, a state legislator, reportedly drunk and looking for a laugh, pulled the emergency brake. The train screeched to a halt in one of the worst possible places, Rolling Mill Cut, a dangerous curve infamous for its narrow visibility and treacherous design. There should have been a flagman posted to signal danger ahead, but just weeks prior, he was laid off, a victim of company-wide budget cuts, a small, seemingly harmless decision that would cost dozens their lives. On that same night, a local train was racing down the tracks, completely unaware that the express had come to a full stop just around the bend. There was no time to brake, no time to warn anyone. The impact was devastating. The local engine slammed into the express at full speed, tearing through the cars like paper. The wooden sleeping compartments, filled with gas lamps and plush furnishings, erupted in flames within seconds. Wagner, trapped in the very luxury car he had designed, was burned alive, his legacy consumed by the very invention he once celebrated. It's a chilling irony. The man who revolutionized railroad comfort died within the belly of his own creation, and he wasn't alone. Men, women, children, all caught in a catastrophe shaped by ego, misjudgment, and sheer bad luck. But the irony doesn't end there. Just 131 years later, in 2013, another train, this time a Metro North commuter, derailed barely 100 yards from this very spot. Speeding into the same fateful curve at nearly triple the limit, it left 4 dead and more than 60 injured. Different cause, same place, same eerie silence after the impact. Was it just bad luck? Or is there something about this cursed bend that history refuses to forget? Even now, the Spuiten-Duivel curve is remembered with unease, a place where arrogance, timing, and tragedy intersected twice and left behind stories that still echo on cold steel. On August 9th, 1894, just outside Lincoln, Nebraska, a passenger train belonging to the Chicago, Rock Island and Pacific Railroad, began its final approach. It was late evening. Families settled into their seats. The trestle bridge ahead, 400 feet long and suspended over Salt Creek, was just another part of the routine journey. Until suddenly, it wasn't. As the train rolled onto the bridge, something gave. The structure collapsed beneath the weight of the cars, sending them plunging into the shallow waters below. Passengers screamed. The engine exploded on impact, igniting a wall of flame that raced through the wooden coaches. Within seconds, a peaceful ride became a mass grave. What caused such a catastrophic failure? Investigators quickly found something chilling. Spikes had been intentionally removed from the rails. Pry marks scarred the wood. The bridge hadn't failed. It had been sabotaged. And not just careless vandalism. This was methodical, calculated. Someone had deliberately created a death trap, designed to kill without warning. Then, police arrested a man, George Washington Davis, a local African-American resident found near the scene, reportedly acting suspicious. He had no criminal record, no connection to the railroad, and no motive. But in the racially charged atmosphere of the time, suspicion alone was enough. The trial was swift. Evidence was flimsy at best. Davis denied everything. There were no eyewitnesses, no fingerprints, no clear link tying him to the crime. Yet the jury delivered a guilty verdict, sentencing him to life in prison. It wasn't justice, it was convenience. Over the years, public opinion began to shift. Reporters raised questions. Prison staff vouched for his good character. Doubt crept in, not just about his guilt, but about the very integrity of the investigation. Eventually, Davis was paroled. But by then, he'd lost everything: his freedom, his reputation, his future. The real saboteur, never caught, never named, never even seriously pursued. And that's what makes this story so haunting. It wasn't just a deadly act of sabotage, it was a double tragedy. Innocent people died in the fire, and another innocent man was buried alive in the prison system. To this day, no new evidence has emerged. No confessions, no leads. Just a wreck, a conviction, and a shadowy question mark that still hangs over Salt Creek. Someone wanted that train to fall, and someone made sure it did. It was just past 1 a.m. on October 9th, 1995, when the Sunset Limited, Amtrak's premier passenger train, was slicing through the desolate Arizona desert. On board were 248 people, some asleep, some reading, some just staring into the blackness of the night, unaware that they were about to enter one of the most mysterious, unsolved crimes in American rail history. As the train approached a small bridge over a dry riverbed near Hyder, Arizona, it suddenly derailed. Several cars jackknifed off the track. Others plunged into the ravine below. The scene was chaotic. Screams echoed into the empty desert. One Amtrak employee was killed. Over 70 passengers were injured. At first, it looked like a tragic accident. But investigators quickly realized this was no ordinary derailment. The tracks had been tampered with, deliberately. Someone had removed bolts and displaced a section of rail. But it wasn't just brute sabotage. Whoever did it had also rerouted the signal system, so the train received no warning. It was a calculated professional job, the kind that required both knowledge and intent. Near the scene, investigators found disturbing clues. Typed, angry manifestos signed by a group calling themselves Sons of the Gestapo. They railed against the government and law enforcement, but their identities were never confirmed. No suspects, no arrests, just eerie silence and scorched metal. Even more unsettling, the sabotage mirrored another case, the 1939 derailment of the city of San Francisco in Nevada. In that incident, 24 people died when the train derailed on a mountain curve. Just like in 1995, the rails were loosened, the signals bypassed. The attackers never found. It's a pattern across decades, a phantom hand reaching out from history to strike again. To this day, the identity of the Sunset Limited saboteur, or saboteurs, remains a mystery. No credible suspects, no clear motive, just a crime that echoes with the unsettling truth that someone, somewhere, got away with murder. Sometimes evil doesn't wear a face. Sometimes it vanishes into the desert wind, leaving behind wreckage, questions, and tracks that lead nowhere. 3 disasters, 3 different eras, but the same chilling thread: fate, sabotage, and questions that will likely never be answered. Railroads were built to connect us, to bridge distances and bring people together. But in these stories, they also connected tragedy, mystery, and dark ironies in ways that feel almost scripted by something bigger than chance. The past doesn't always stay buried. Sometimes it rides the rails, and sometimes it derails them. Which of these tragedies haunted you the most? Comment below. If stories like these linger in your mind, hit like, subscribe to Track 13, and ride with us again. Until next time, remember, every track has a story.